Hello and welcome to this week's Ruby Shoes podcast, celebrating the very best local entertainment news across East Anglia each and every week. Now, this week on the Ruby Shoes podcast, we are celebrating our 75th episode. Can't believe it. We want to thank you so much for listening and also for supporting this entertainment news podcast. It really, really does mean a lot to us and all of those lovely friends that we've got out there in Theatreland. Now, we feature the launch of a brand new book festival for Ipswich in this week's episode. Tim Holder, who plays one of the leading roles in Fun Home, which opens tonight, chats to us about being back on the boards. And we catch up with best-selling author Barbara Erskine ahead of her appearance at next month's Felixstowe Book Festival. Plus, last week, we featured actor Laura Matthews, who plays Dotty in the drama Spitfire Girls, and we got a review of that particular brilliant performance. Plus, we've got a roundup of some of the region's top shows coming your way very soon, which we won't want to miss. Now, we begin this week's Ruby Shoes podcast by talking to Emma Lightfoot. She's director of the Orwell Lady, which provides scenic cruises along the River Orwell. Emma is also one of the founders of a brand new Ipswich Book Festival. Here at Ipswich Waterfront, it's a Friday evening. It's a beautiful evening. The water's really calm here. You can see the boats and the sun setting just over all of the beautiful penthouse flats here on the waterfront. And the reason I'm here is for the launch of Ipswich's Book Festival.
So, wow, I just want to say thank you all for coming. You know when you launch something and the reception to it is just so overwhelming. We've been so inundated by positivity, and seeing you all here tonight is just absolutely amazing. I think we're all completely blown away. So thank you all for coming and for believing in us. So what we're going to do tonight is we're just going to run through what we're going to do.
Emma Lightfoot, you must be so excited. We're here at the launch of the Ipswich Book Festival. You can't be happier with the way that's gone. That's just been amazing.
Oh, it's been, you know, when you have an idea for something and you deliver it or you say it to someone and they say, yeah, and then you do something and everybody goes, oh my goodness, that's just amazing. Well, the energy and the enthusiasm, we've been so overwhelmed. And just the number of people that have come tonight on a Friday night. The schools broke up today. Lots of people have gone on holiday already. It's just been, I just feel really happy. I feel like we're doing something that people want, and that's such a lovely feeling.
And I can't believe that Ipswich doesn't have a book festival already. That's what seems so crazy.
I think there's been 2 attempts before. I think there was Iplit and there was Book East. I've lived here a long time and I have been to some book festival events, but I always go to Felixstowe Book Festival because there was nothing in Ipswich. So I've always go there and will continue to do so, incidentally. It's one of my favourites. But yeah, we all felt that Ipswich needs another. We've got a great music festival now with Brighton the Corners. We have lots of free events. We've got lots going on, but I think we just felt we needed something for the people that like to read, write, illustrate, draw, whatever it is that people do.
Tell us in a nutshell about Ipswich Book Festival. When's it going to be? Where's it going to be? And how can people find out more?
So it's the 3rd to the 5th of October. It's going to be across multiple venues in Ipswich. So we have some headline speakers that will be bigger, but obviously we'll have some people that are quite small, as in the audience will probably be smaller. Maybe some of the illustration workshops, for example, they may be smaller. What we really want to do, because we all run businesses in Ipswich, is get people moving around Ipswich, understand all these lovely buildings that we have, how easy things are. We know what people say about Ipswich, and it's our job to try and turn that around. We've got ipswichbookfestival.co.uk as our website. We're Ipswich Book Festival on social media. We've got a newsletter people can sign up to. I think that's it. We'll be doing some advertising in paper. I'm always trying to think of ways that we can get to everybody who's not online. So we will be doing some bits and bobs in printed material as well.
Well, you've just spoken to all the people who listen to Ruby Shoes podcast.
So. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Next, we hear from Tim Holder, who is tonight going to be on stage for the Gallery Players in Ipswich for their opening night of Fun Home. The Gallery Players that bring you Fun Home. Alison is forced to confront long-hidden family secrets. She dives deep into her past to tell the story of the volatile, brilliant, one-of-a-kind man whose temperament and secrets defined her childhood, and finds that they had more in common than she ever knew. Sounds fantastic, scintillating stuff. Here to tell us more is Tim Holder. Welcome, Tim, to the Ruby Shoes podcast.
Hi, Steph. How are you?
Very well indeed. Now, Tim, tell me how you fit into this with the Gallery Players.
The story is it's a real story about real people, and written originally from a graphic novel by Alison Bechdel. who is a very famous New York cartoonist, essentially. And it's about her life and her relationship with her family, and in particular, the complex relationship she has with her father. And it goes right the way through. We have 3 Alison Bechtels in the show, from the ages of sort of 10 to 12 up to the adult Alison herself. And the relationship between her father throughout the years is a lot of what the story is about. It's a really moving, complex story with wonderfully written and fantastic music.
It sounds absolutely... I can't wait to see it. It just sounds so interesting, and so many families. I'm sure people can identify with it. You know, there's always someone in the family that you can look back on and think they had a profound effect on me, in sometimes a really positive way and sometimes in a more negative way. And it's really interesting, isn't it? So tell me about your actual role within this.
So I'm playing Bruce Bechtel, the father, and there aren't 3 different ages of me, so I'm there the whole time. But I think, you know, he's a really complex character. He's living in Pennsylvania. This is set in sort of the 70s and early 80s, I guess. And he's a teacher. And he's a funeral director. He runs the Bechtel Funeral Home, the fun home, as we call it, in the family. And it's about the misunderstandings between really him and his daughter, and about the society that they're living in at that time. And I really hope that the audiences that come to see it will draw their own conclusions about how these misunderstandings come about, and how much the pressure of society drives a lot of, you know, the great things, but also the difficult things that people experience through their life. I think people will laugh. There's definitely laughter in there. I think they might cry. I certainly did the first time I heard the soundtrack, and I was considering, you know, would I do it or not? And it really, really hit home. So I think it'll be a really wonderful evening. Brilliant cast, perfect gallery show.
Oh my goodness. Well, I will definitely pack my tissues, because I will definitely cry, because I can cry at an advert. And you're such a lovely guy, Tim. I mean, you know, you're well known across Suffolk anyway, such a nice guy. So clearly you're going to be a very, very good actor. To be this volatile, you know, perhaps temperamental man. But it's interesting, as you said, you want the audience to understand him, because he is ultimately a parent and obviously a man running a business, and, you know, perhaps having to deal with a daughter with her own opinions. Maybe I'm talking about myself here, I don't know. But I certainly know that it's much harder, I think, for a father to kind of get what on earth the daughter's up to, and especially when they grow up and start to be independent and want to do their own thing. So it is quite tough, and I think people will understand, and they'll still love you afterwards, Tim, I'm sure.
Well, isn't it always the case? You know, I think I mean, I'm not a parent. You know, I'm playing a father for the first time on stage. I've got 6 children altogether. So we have 2 casts of children, so 6 children. And I think I look back at it, and I look at the relationship with my own parents, and I think sometimes the things that are the best things and the worst are the similarities that you have in the character of you and your child. And I think that's the rub, you know, between Alison and Bruce. They're very, very similar, and actually a lot more similar than Alison actually initially thinks.
Yes, definitely. And I think the older you get, the more those similarities come to fruition, don't they? And you think, oh no, I'm sounding more and more like my parents now.
Well, I definitely think, I mean, I think we're all doing that, aren't we? I think so. I did just want to say that it's been the most amazing experience, and the company is superb. Leslie Burrows is playing Alison Bechtel. She is absolutely amazing. The children are amazing. The younger Alisons are just phenomenal, brilliant singers. But we're so fortunate to have Steve Waldridge directing the show, who is a long time experienced director, really brilliant director of plays, which really this is a play with music. And he's really helping us to dig down into the character. Matt Snow doing an amazing job helping us with the notes. And Susie Lowe, who loads of people will know from around Suffolk, daughter of the famous Dennis Lowe, is doing the choreography and the musical movement. And we're just so blessed, and we're having the best time doing it. So we hope people will have the best time watching it. Actually, coming to the Gallery Theatre from the 7th to the 12th. That's Monday to Saturday. And we're looking forward to it very much.
Oh, wonderful. Well, that's just absolutely brilliant. It's been fascinating to talk to you, Tim. And how are you managing my final question to you, how are you managing to fit all of this in, all these rehearsals for the lead role, basically, in Fun Home, with everything else that's going on in your life? Because you're such a busy man. Have you found that quite challenging?
Well, it's kind of all about teamwork on every level. And I think, this show stands and falls on the team. It's not a one-man performance. It's at all. It's the strength of all the individual parts. But I go back to my days years ago when I first did shows, and sometimes I did 2 or 3 at the same time. I certainly couldn't do that. But I tell you what, when you've had a hard day at work, it's really wonderful to go and play, and it's really wonderful to be someone else. And it's just been the most fascinating experience. So, I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it.
Well, we can't wait to see you. Thank you so much for talking to us today, Tim. If you want to get your tickets, it's If you want to get your tickets, it's gallerystudiotheatre.co.uk. Please wish all the cast the best, and we will look forward to seeing it in April.
See you there.
We have a bit of a book theme going on this week, you might have noticed, as the tickets went on sale last Saturday for this year's Felixstowe Book Festival, which is happening in June at Harvest House in Felixstowe. I caught up with one of the most popular best-selling authors, Barbara Erskine, who's just written her 17th novel, The Story Spinner. And in June, she'll be hot-footing it back to Felixstowe. Internationally best-selling author Barbara Erskine joins me now for the Ruby Shoes podcast. She's just published her latest book, The Story Spinner, which went straight to #1 in the Sunday Times best-selling titles. Barbara, I want to ask you about your latest novel, of course, but first, I've literally just finished The Dreamweaver, which was utterly absorbing, and I literally couldn't put it down. And at the end of it, I felt bereft because I didn't want to let the characters go. And I wondered, as a writer, if you feel the same when you have to let those characters go at the end of a book.
Oh, very much so, yes. It's agony. You have to sort of harden your heart because... you post it to your agent and your publisher and sort of wait with bated breath. But you've got to move on. And I've got to start thinking about another book. And basically they're there and that's it. You can edit, of course, but no, it's heartbreaking.
What did your parents think of your as such a successful writer? Was there a point when they said, wow, you're really good at this, or did they think, it's not a proper career for you?
Well, no, they accepted it was my career because I wanted to be a writer, and I started with sort of short stories and a bit of journalism and stuff, but I think they were very pleased actually. But I do remember my father reading one, he read them all, reading one of them and saying, his words have stayed with me, and he looked at me and his eyes twinkled and he said, I say, it's a bit racy, isn't it?
Brilliant.
Oh, I love that. I just love it. I want to put that across the book, as a kind of recommendation from my best critic.
So, well, now I'm thinking, which title is that? I haven't read that one.
I don't know. I can't remember. I genuinely can't remember. It's probably all of them.
Don't worry. Now, tell me about where you like to write and how you write, because each author seems to be different. So is there a place that you sit to do your writing, and how? I
start very early in the morning. I wake up at 5 or 6 and start writing then. My brain starts whirring. So that's absolute pain because by lunchtime I'm absolutely knackered. But Yes, I have a lot of my books, most of my books are written up in a little cottage in the mountains with no internet. Yes. and I can charge my laptop up before I go up there, and hope it'll last, and so forth. So that's brilliant because there's no interruptions, and it's very inspiring and sort of unsophisticated. And I also have a room at home where, which is my study basically, which I'm sitting in at this moment, where I don't want to show you. I can't. If I move this laptop, it'll all go off again. And if I showed you my desk, it's chaos. But I'm very good at getting lost in what I'm doing and concentrate very hard. And then, I did when I started on Lady of Hay all those years ago. I was writing it longhand, and now I start each book longhand. I think you can think better. You're in better touch with your head, with a pencil in your hand or a pen. But once it's got going, then I'm on the laptop, and that kind of works for me.
When you say mountains, you're talking about the mountains in Wales, because you're back
in Wales,
aren't you? Yes.
Yes. The Black Mountains, yes. My father bought a cottage there in the 60s. So we've been sort of rooted there for many, many years. And it was that area that inspired Lady of Hay, because it's very close to Hay-on-Wye. And that was sort of the book that eventually got published and has been with me ever since. It's just amazing.
Well, congratulations for that. Now, 16, or is it 17 now, hugely popular novels to your name. Tell us about this latest one, Story Spinner, which could even be a title describing you, perhaps.
Yes, I think it probably could. This was based around a story that's part of an old Welsh collection of legends and so forth called the Mabinogion, which is very well known in Wales and is beginning to be known elsewhere. But it's a sort of anthology of old legends and myths. But one of the stories is based on actual fact, which is about in the Roman times, in the times of the Roman Empire. The head of the legions, the general of the legions in Britannia, married the daughter of one of the local tribal kings. And this story is related in the Mabinogion. And it's always intrigued me because it's very different from all the other stories, which are about gods and goddesses and magical things. And then you suddenly get this story, which is actually about a Roman general who became an emperor, and his wife, who was the daughter, a princess, if you like, of Wales. And in the original story, he dreams about her and he goes to find her and he sees her in this castle in the mountains, and it's all very romantic. But because it's based on fact, I was so intrigued by this, and because I live in Wales now and I've got to know the scenery, and it's very, very kind of enticing, this wonderful mountain scenery. And Hay is where I live now, is in the middle of the area of which this king was king. So it's a local story, basically. So I just wanted to get involved with that. And I coupled that, as with all my books, with a modern story about someone who is researching Ellen's story, so that the two stories interlink. And I added in some bits of archaeology and sort of, local objections to planning and so forth, which is becoming more and more kind of topical every second. So, and it went on there.
It sounds fascinating, and I can't wait to read that. It's going to be wonderful. Now, we're very lucky because you're coming back to Suffolk and the Felixstowe Book Festival in June this year, and you came along to the very first Festival of Books by the Sea. Why do you feel it's important to support this particular book festival here in Felixstowe?
Well, we used to live down near Frinton, so it wasn't very far away. It was almost local in those days, and I knew some of the people, obviously, and it just was lovely to come back and visit. And because I was at the first one, that's extra special in a way. So I thought, and with lots of notice, they asked me last year, so that's brilliant. I'm looking forward to it hugely, and I'm being interviewed by Mandy Morton, who has become a great friend.
author Barbara Erskine ahead of her visit in June to the Felixstowe Book Festival. If you'd like to read the full interview in its glory, it's in the May issue of Suffolk Norfolk Life. Tickets to see Barbara and the rest of the visiting authors, you can go to felixstowebookfestival.co.uk. Finally this week on the Ruby Shoes podcast, last week we spoke to lovely Laura Matthews, who's starring in the drama Spitfire Girls, currently on tour. We caught up with a performance last week at the New Wolsey Theatre. Oh, there we go, nice warm car. So just back from the New Wolsey Theatre, Tilted Productions with Spitfire Girls tonight. As war shook their land, they took to the skies. A story I didn't know anything about, which was so many women literally flying planes and delivering them with very little training, 4 maybe 5 months training. And what I liked about this production, or didn't like in a way, I wanted it to have a nice kind of neat, happy ending, and that isn't how war is. And so it didn't. It was quite, it showed the realities of it, basically, didn't it?
It was incredibly well acted, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Incredibly well. You were transported back in time. Even the brochure is laid out in that.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Beautiful. It's done.
It could have literally come from the 1940s.
Yeah, it's even got 4D as a price on it. But that incredibly well acted, very, very emotional. But of course, a true story.
Yeah.
The whole. Again, another one of those bits of history which is forgotten or buried about how important it was that the ladies actually
Absolutely.
flew so many flights.
Some women were against it. They were actually quite cross with these women who flew and, said, oh, you're basically letting the side down. You're not, being proper women. You should be back at your cookers and your sinks. And I was quite appalled by that. I thought, please don't say that. And obviously the families of some of these girls would have been quite irate about it as well, because they were really sort of pioneering, weren't they? But I could see the excitement as well. So that everything was all sort of wrapped up in it. So well done.
Amazing when you think that not only were they flying things like Hurricanes and Spitfires, but single-handedly these women, without radios or radar or any of that stuff, were flying things like Wellington bombers.
Yeah.
On their own, nobody else on the plane
I
except
love
them.
that when they said that she landed the Wellington bomber and all the men from on the ground literally jumped on the plane to look for the pilot because they couldn't figure out why a woman had just got off the plane. And I think that probably genuinely happened. So very, very good. Really enjoyed that.
Excellent.
What's on across Suffolk with Stephanie McIntyre, sponsored by Ruby Shoes Podcast, your weekly entertainment news podcast. Available from your smart speaker, Apple, Spotify, or you just follow Ruby Shoes Podcast on Facebook and click on the weekly podcast link to listen.
There's a host of great shows on offer across Suffolk's magnificent theatres, and here's just a selection to tempt you. Tuesday the 8th of April from 7:30pm at the Key Theatre in Sudbury. Life with Oscar. What would you do for an Oscar? Actor-filmmaker Nick Cohern relives his desperate Hollywood years, a tragicomic true life Sunset Boulevard. Nick flees South London and his dysfunctional family to live as a permanent guest on Sunset with a double Oscar winner, a man who works regularly with Orson Welles, promising to get Nick's film nominated if he follows exact instructions. Life with Oscar upends La La Land in a confessional rollercoaster ride through its dark, twisted underbelly. Aptly premiered at Underbelly, Edinburgh Fringe before transferring off West End to the Arcola Theatre in London. Catch Nick on tour as it visits the Key Theatre here in Suffolk. Go to keysudbury.com to find out more. Wednesday the 9th of April, Jimmy Carr is at the Ipswich Regent Theatre for 2 performances, but tickets are selling fast. If you like fast-paced, edgy one-liners, then get ready to be happy. Jimmy Carr is going back on tour with his brand new show, Jimmy Carr Laughs Funny. Jimmy tells jokes, and jokes are like magnets. He says, jokes attract people, but they can also repel. Some people are repelled by my dark brand of comedy. This show is not for them. But if it's the kind of thing you like, then this show is the kind of thing you'll like. To get your hands on those last remaining tickets, go to ipswichtheatres.co.uk. Also on Wednesday the 9th, this time at the Marina Theatre in Lowestoft. Emma Kenny returns with an enthralling new show that plunges into the depths of love twisted into terror. After her triumphant The Serial Killer Next Door tour, Emma captivates yet again, solidifying her status as one of the UK's foremost crime presenters. This time, she invites you to delve into the dark world of Killer Couples. Killer Couples is not just another true crime show, it's a riveting exploration of romance gone horrifically awry. Emma unravels the complex psychology of couples who commit the unthinkable, transforming their intimate bond into a pact of death and destruction. For tickets, go to marinatheatre.co.uk. Friday the 11th of April at the new Wolsey Theatre in Ipswich, catch your breath. The Secret Life of a Sleepless Anaesthetist. NHS anaesthetist, comedian and author Ed Patrick, as seen on Have I Got News For You, and heard on BBC Radio 2, Radio 4 and BBC Radio Scotland, injects the new Wolsey Theatre with gut-punch hilarious show about becoming a junior doctor, the NHS, the pitfalls of modern medicine and the power of questioning it. For more details, go to wolseytheatre.co.uk. Saturday the 12th and Sunday the 13th of April at Eastern Angles in Ipswich, Living on Air is a comedy showcasing the performance talents of Cohere Arts visually impaired drama company and new writing by the group's director and 2024 Mercury playwright Emma Bernard. The play draws the audience into a world of Radio Bardwell, a fictitious radio station serving the Suffolk community in the 1970s. The station is dominated by its star presenter Tommy Platter, who for years has been waking up local listeners with his daily morning show promising more music, less chatter. However, when a new presenter arrives to work at the station, the status quo is well and truly rocked. For tickets, go to easternangles.co.uk. Also on Saturday the 12th, but this time at the Spa Pavilion Theatre in Felixstowe, the Temple Brothers, Everleigh and Friends show. The Temple Brothers, officially voted as the UK's #1 Everleigh Brothers tribute by the National Tribute Music Awards, faithfully recreate the music and harmonies of one of the greatest best-loved duos of all time, the Everleigh Brothers. Just like Don and Phil Everleigh, the Temple Brothers are real-life brothers, and that's why their voices blend so perfectly and sound so uncannily like the Everleigh Brothers themselves. The show also stars Buddy Walker giving his awesome tribute to Buddy Holly and the talented Pete Gill's amazing piano-pumping tribute to Jerry Lee Lewis. Go to spapavilion.uk to find out more.
Don't forget, you can always get in touch with us via our Facebook page. We're at Ruby Shoes Podcast. We love to hear about your forthcoming plays, your comedy nights, or any kind of show, festival, or event in East Anglia you'd like everyone to know about. Tell us so we can tell everybody else. And remember, you can always listen again to any of the Ruby Shoes podcasts via Apple or Spotify, or just simply click on the weekly podcast links on our Facebook page. Follow us there too for all the latest entertainment news where you are. I'm Steph McIntyre. Thanks for listening, and we'll chat about more live theatre and all kinds of entertainment next week. In the meantime, check out those socials. At Ruby Shoes Podcast, we're on Twitter or X, Facebook and Instagram. We'd love you to follow us there too, and make sure you have a great week.